Good, happy Friday morning, November 22, 2019. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, opponents ask judge to block enforcement of New Hampshire voter registry residence law. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9. State urges that law creates little confusion.
Well, the New Hampshire judge is now hearing arguments in the fight to block the state's new voter residency law. The ACLU and others claim that HB 1264 is unconstitutional, saying that it imposes residency requirements on voters like getting a license or registering a car. Hanover's town clerk says the new law has caused confusion, saying that she was not told what to tell would-be voters who have asked about the law's consequences. Deputy Secretary of State David Scanlon testified that he has only fielded a handful of calls and that there has been, quote, very little confusion. No word on when the judge might make a final ruling.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Two inmates at men's state prison in Concord test positive for hepatitis A. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
The men's state prison is taking precautions tonight after two unrelated cases of hepatitis A in the past week. The Department of Corrections says the two inmates who tested positive had recently returned to the prison for parole violations. Officials say that the two had engaged in high-risk activity while free, which was the likely cause of those infections.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Senator Jeanne Shaheen proposes plan to expand acupuncture service for veterans. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Jean Mackin.
The Department of Veterans Affairs says 60% of veterans returning from the Middle East and half of older veterans suffer from chronic pain. In an effort to battle that pain without opioid use, Senator Jeanne Shaheen is proposing the Acupuncture for Our Heroes Act.
Given the opioid epidemic and the potential for getting addicted to opioids for pain, it's important to have alternatives for our veterans.
The National Institutes of Health says acupuncture is effective relieving chronic pain and can be used to help treat stress, mental health issues, symptoms of PTSD, even substance abuse without the threat of addiction. Right now, about 60% of VA health centers provide acupuncture services on site. This act would expand that.
The VA hospital here in Manchester has an acupuncturist who is on duty, And what we want to do is make sure that that kind of access is available to veterans across the country.
And if the Acupuncture Act passes, veterans could be treated by licensed acupuncturists in all U.S. states. Monica and Tom?
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Suspected drug dealer indicated on charges in connection with 2014 overdose death. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
A suspected drug dealer who fled the country has been indicted in connection with the overdose death of an Atkinson man. Feliz Aguilar is suspected of selling fentanyl that killed 22-year-old Thomas Drake in September 2014. 2 years later, Drake's best friend, Nicholas Austin, pleaded guilty to supplying the drugs. A grand jury indicted Aguilar on a sale of a controlled drug, resulting in death.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. AMR paramedic dies days after serious crash in Peterborough, officials say. Daniel Murphy remembered for love of family and work. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cronin.
Trying hard to get a better signal on your cell phone? Let SignalBooster.com help you get a strong wireless signal.
Loved ones remember Daniel Murphy as someone who dedicated his life to his family and to helping others, a passion he shared with his wife, both of them paramedics at American Medical Response in Nashua.
Been in EMS for his whole life. That was what he and his wife Jen both really loved to do. Family first, but being a paramedic was definitely second, and helping people was really paramount for both of them.
His boss, Chris Stawaz, says the 48-year-old was heading home to Gilsum from work Sunday afternoon. He was on Route 101 in Peterborough.
His vehicle left the road and struck a tree.
Last night, Murphy died from his injuries.
Going home safe is the number one priority for everybody. This happened on his way home, but it just proves that it can happen anywhere, anytime to anybody, no matter how much you prepare for it.
Murphy made it his purpose to give people the best possible care. He was a paramedic at AMR for 3 years, and he spent most of his life as a firefighter, serving multiple communities in New Hampshire.
It's a tight-knit family throughout not only AMR, but New Hampshire in general, so everybody feels that loss when one of us goes down.
Stawaz says Murphy was always there for others. Now they will do the same for those who suddenly lost a father and a husband during the holidays.
We're going to be there for her, and we're going to take care of the family and do the best we can for our own and get us all through it.
Funeral services are pending. A GoFundMe page has raised thousands for his family. Murphy was a father of 4, including a 3-year-old. Reporting live in Nashua, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. State police spread safety messages ahead of Thanksgiving travel. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Siobhan Lopez.
As Thanksgiving draws near, get ready for more vehicles on the roads.
Absolutely. Dreading it.
Drivers are mentally preparing for their journey.
It's tough, but I'm used to it. So we do it. I do it every day. I drive
about 200 miles a day.
It usually takes me about 2.5 hours to get from Bedford to where I'm going.
While also looking on the bright side.
But I get to eat. So that's the best part of it.
New Hampshire and Vermont State Police teaming up to spread their safety message, asking people to report any dangerous drivers.
Keep an eye out on the roadways for us. If you identify a potential impaired driver, call star 77, get us information.
Officials want people to slow down and buckle up, saying New Hampshire has the highest unbelted fatality rate in the country.
The old cliche is speed kills, and that certainly holds true.
94 people have died on Granite State Road since January. That number is down nearly 26% from the same time period last year. Vermont has only seen 40 traffic deaths this year and is on track to have one of its lowest totals in at least 5 years.
While we're happy with this decrease, the fact of the matter is that even one death is one death too many.
Drivers can expect to see added patrols out on the highways as early as this weekend. Reporting in Hooksett tonight, Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your 2020 New Hampshire candidate tracker for November 22nd, 2019. We have a bunch of candidates in New Hampshire today. And here's a look at that candidate tracker for all of you. The first candidate we're talking about, Cory Booker. He has 2 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, Conversation with Cory at UNH in Durham, New Hampshire at 6 o'clock p.m. His second event, Meet and Greet at the Portsmouth Brewery in Portsmouth, New Hampshire at 8:30 p.m. Tulsi Gabbard has a house party in Jaffrey, New Hampshire at 6:30 p.m. Amy Cullen-Bulcher has 2 events today in New Hampshire. First event, Town Hall at New England College in Henniker, New Hampshire at 2 p.m. And her second event, Speaking at Politics Unplugged at St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire at 4:30 p.m. And Bill Weld, he's in New Hampshire today. He has 2 events in New Hampshire today. His first event, Speaking to the Chamber Collaborative of Greater Portsmouth at the Sheraton Portsmouth Harborside in Portsmouth, New Hampshire at 7:30 a.m. And a night out with the presidential candidate William Weld at Portsmouth Gaslight CO in Portsmouth, New Hampshire at 6:30 p.m. And those are all the candidates in New Hampshire today. U.S. features point to a slightly higher open. U.S. stock index features were slightly higher Friday morning. Former Boston College student charged in boyfriend's suicide. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Now to the former Boston College student charged in her boyfriend's suicide. Prosecutors say she sent 47,000 text messages, some they say telling him to go kill yourself. What she has now released tonight, and here's Will Reeve.
Tonight, a former Boston College student charged with involuntary manslaughter in her boyfriend's graduation day suicide has returned to the United States ahead of her arraignment.
Miss Yu made demands and threats with the understanding that she had complete and total control over Mr. Urtula, both mentally and emotionally.
In Young Yu of South Korea is accused of manipulating Alexander Urtula, physically, verbally, and psychologically abusing her boyfriend, sending more than 47,000 texts in 2 months, some telling him to go kill himself or go die. But this week, Yu's legal team released more messages to the Boston Globe, claiming to show their client trying to intervene in those final desperate moments. The text saying, "If you expletive love me, stop. If you ever expletive loved me, stop."
We spoke to the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, who said these most recent texts were just a small fraction of what happened. In Young Yu will be arraigned tomorrow morning. David?
Will, thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that is it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.